Thank you. Great.
Perfect. Okay, now we go into a slideshow, which includes texts with Srila Prabhupada's translations and purports, which I can also bring also to the forefront. The main teacher of this course is Srila Prabhupada, based on his text and purport. So now we'll share those and read them. And Samapriya can take over choosing people to read.
Okay, we'll just everyone will get an opportunity, and we'll just start with Manvantara. Would you like to read? Start it off.
Note that this is the review of Srimad Bhagavatam, October 2022, lessons 1 and 2.
Chapter 20, Conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 20, Text 1. Sri Sukadev inquired, O Sutta Goswami, after the earth was again situated in its orbit, what did Swayambhava Manu do to show the path of liberation to persons who were to take birth later on? Purport. The appearance of the Lord as the first Boar incarnation occurred during the time of Swayambhuva Manu, whereas the present age is in the period of Visvasvata Manu. Each Manu's period lasts 72 times the cycle of 4 ages, and one cycle of ages equal 4,320,000 solar years. Thus, 4,320,000 multiplied by 72 solar years is the reign of one Manu. In each Manu's period, there are many changes in many ways, and there are 14 Manus within one day of Brahma. It is understood here that Manu creates scriptural regulations for the salvation of the conditioned souls who come to the material world for material enjoyment. The Lord is so kind that any soul who wants to enjoy in this material world is given full facility for enjoyment, and at the same time, he is shown the path of salvation. Shanika Rishi therefore inquired from Sutta Goswami, what did Swayambhuva Manu do after the reinstatement of the earth in its orbital situation?
So what was your question about that, Manvantara?
Actually, it's fine. It was just, it's such a long time. It's such a long time. And yet for Lord Krishna is a flickering of a second. It's just such a long time.
Is that a question or a comment?
It's just a comment. It's just like a realization. It's just like, gosh.
Nice.
Yeah. So I have what I use, because it certainly is a long time. We have to start thinking in the eternal zone. When you're dealing with Krishna, it's eternal. Talk about a long time. So if we start training our minds to think in terms of eternity, that gets us on board of a little bit closer of what Krishna is, where Krishna is coming from. He's coming from the eternal realm, and we're here in the temporary realm where everything is calculated in a different manner. So we're trying to enter into eternity. So let's continue. Is that all right, Mamatar?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Why don't we go on with Tisha? Would you like to read?
Yes, Samapriya. Hare Krishna, everyone. Okay, 3:22 through 4. Shaunaka Rishi inquired about Vidura, who was a great devotee and friend of Lord Krishna, and who gave up the company of his elder brother because the latter, along with his sons, played tricks against the desires of the Lord. Vidur, who's born from the body of Vedavyas, and was not less than he. Thus he accepted the lotus feet of Krishna wholeheartedly and was attached to his devotees. Vidur was purified of all passion by wandering in sacred places, and at last he reached Haridwar. where he met the great sage who knew the science of spiritual life, and he inquired from him. Shaunaka Rishi therefore asked, what more did Vidur inquire from Maitreya? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is recommended in this verse that one find a person who knows the science of God, or a tattvavit. Tattvavit means one who knows the absolute truth. There are many pseudo-transcendentalists, even at places of pilgrimage. Such men are always present, and one has to be intelligent enough to find the actual person to be consulted. Then one's attempt to progress by traveling to different holy places will be successful. One has to be freed from all contamination, and at the same time, he has to find a person who knows the science of Krishna. Krishna helps a sincere person. As stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Guru Krishna Prasade. By the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna, one attains the path of salvation, devotional service. If one sincerely searches for spiritual salvation, then Krishna, being situated in everyone's heart, gives him the intelligence to find a suitable spiritual master. By the grace of a spiritual master like Maitreya, one gets the proper instruction and advances in his spiritual life.
That's a very powerful verse. I'd like to say one thing, because we brought up the topic of eternity, and we can see that Dhritarashtra and his sons were involved in the relative world. So if you're involved in the relative world, you will become victimized by the modes of nature. And these tricks that they played on the Pandavas, the devotees of the Lord, this was based on envy, because they're absorbed in the modes of nature. So as we're going through this, we can see the difference between eternity and temporary, sat and asat. Okay, any, would you like to add something to that, Atisha? Any realizations that you got about that?
Well, what I was thinking about, just from what experiences, what's happening in my own life right now, is the strength and conviction that Vidur must have had, to walk away from his family who were asat, So I just was thinking that Vidur, he had it together. He just walked away.
Excellent. Could you unmute, Pati?
The point in the purport also is that Krishna responds. He left his family and didn't just wander aimlessly for so many years. He actually was searching for a higher experience than what he was involved in. And here, meeting Uddhava first and then Maitreya, we see that his heart's desire for a higher experience will be fulfilled.
Right. Okay. Faye, would you like to read the next one?
Yes, Mataji. Good morning. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.20, verses 5 through 8. Sanakana inquired about the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. There must have been many narrations of the spotless pastimes of the Lord. The hearing of such narrations is exactly like bathing in the water of the Ganges, for it can free one from all sinful reactions. O Sutta Goswami, all good fortune to you. Please narrate the activities of the Lord, which are all magnanimous and worth glorifying. What sort of devotee can be satiated by hearing the nectarian pastimes of the Lord? On being asked to speak by the great sages of Nayamsaranya, the son of Ramaharsana Sutta Goswami, whose mind was absorbed in the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, said, "Please hear what I shall now speak." Sutta Goswami continued, "Vidura, the descendant of Bharata, was delighted to hear the story of the Lord, who, having assumed by his own divine potency the form of a boar, had enacted the sport of lifting the earth from the bottom of the ocean and indifferently killing the demon Hiranyaksa. Vidura then spoke to the sage as follows.
There's the purport there. Would you like to read the purport?
Yes, ma'am. However, I cannot
there's no
see
purport.
it.
Oh, there's no?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, Faye. We're just going to wait until we get purports. We have discussions. I was got a little mixed up. So now we have Akshara Das. Akshara, are you the same Axel?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Could you read the next slide?
So Vidura said, "Since you know of matters inconceivable to us, tell me, O holy sage, what did Brahma do to create living beings after evolving the Prajapatis, the progenitors of living beings?" Vidura inquired, "How did the Prajapatis, such progenitors of living entities as Marichi and Swayambhuva Manu, create according to the instruction of Brahma, and how did they evolve this manifested universe? Did they evolve the creation in conjunction with their respective wives? Did they remain independent in their action, or did they all jointly produce it?"
Thank you, Akshar, and welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam study class. It's nice to see you, and hope that you will really dive in with everyone and appreciate this wonderful Sangha. Because every devotee here is very special. Thank you.
Let's go on. Nice to see you all.
Hare Krishna. Okay, let's go on. Adurya Radha, another addition to our Sangha. Hare Krishna, Adurya.
Hare Krishna, Mata.
Hare Krishna. Would you like to read?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I didn't listen to it. Maitreya answered. Okay. Maitreya answered, when the equilibrium of the combination of the three modes of nature was agitated by the unseen activity of the living entity, by Mahavishnu and by the force of time, the total material elements were produced. Purport. The cause of the material creation is described here very lucidly. The first cause is Daiva, or the destiny of the conditioned soul. The material creation exists for the conditioned soul who wanted to become a false lord for sense enjoyment. One can now trace out the history of when the conditioned soul first desired to lord it over material nature. But in Vedic literature, we always find that the material creation is meant for the sense enjoyment of the conditioned soul. It is mentioned here that in the beginning of the creation, the material nature or Prakriti is agitated for the personality of Godhead, Vishnu. There are three Vishnus mentioned. One is Mahavishnu, another is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and the third is Kisharadakasayi Vishnu. The first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam discusses all these three Vishnus. And here also, it is confirmed that Vishnu is the cause of creation. From Bhagavad Gita also, we learn the Prakriti begins to work and is still working under Krishna or Vishnu, plans of superintendence. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unchangeable.
Hati, you want to discuss that?
Yes.
You had met.
He's describing what Maitreya is almost backtracking a little bit. He had described many of these points a little bit prior to the description of Lord Varaha, but because they had gotten so involved in describing that pastime, now he's reverting back to Brahma's initial creation. And what happens is that the entire desire as a culmination, each individual living entity, and we know in each universe there are unlimited numbers, practically speaking, nobody can count them. They're everywhere. There are billions and trillions of living entities, each an individual, but each living entity has its own karma as an individual. But in this case, Maitreya is grouping them together as a cumulative effect of all those desires. All the desires of all those souls together are the unseen activity of the living entity, which also agitated the pradhan, the Mahatattva. When Mahavishnu glanced, all those living entities came out, went into the pradhan, unmanifested material nature, and according to their positions were placed into individual universes, and their cumulative desire as a whole agitated the material nature to manifest, along with, as stated here, Mahavishnu and the force of time. Time is the first characteristic of this feature when the material world begins. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to go on now with Vaishnavi. Would you like to read? Vaishnavi, are you there? Unmute Vaishnavi. She might have walked out. Vaishnavi?
She might not be there right now.
Okay. Chaitamayi.
Haribol.
Haribol, Chaita.
Dhanavat Pranam.
Welcome back, my dear. Nice to see you. All the way from Oregon, right?
It's so nice to be with you all today.
Hare Krishna. Why don't you read, Donnie?
Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:20-13. As impelled by the destiny of the jiva, the false ego, which is of three kinds, evolved from the Mahatattva, in which the element of Rajas predominates. From the ego, in turn, evolved many groups of 5 principles. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The primordial matter, or prakriti, material nature, consisting of 3 modes, generates 4 groups of 5. The first group is called elementary and consists of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The second group of 5 is called tanmatra, referring to the subtle elements, sense objects, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. The third group is the 5 sense organs for acquiring knowledge: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. The fourth group is the 5 working senses: speech, hands, feet, anus, and genitals. Some say that there are 5 groups of 5. One group is the sense objects, one is the 5 elements, one is the 5 sense organs for acquiring knowledge, another is the senses for working, and the 5th group is the 5 deities who control these divisions. Wow.
And, yeah, we're really packed in there. Very, very tight. We're packed in very tight, you know. Nothing is haphazard. We take it for granted.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you're hearing, you're feeling, you're tasting. Everything is so scientifically oriented by Krishna. It's just perfectly
It's all,
put together.
all controlled. It's all controlled. We think we are so free here, but everything. What jumps out at me is there's 5 deities who control everything that we're doing here with our bodies. So where is the freedom? Where is the independence?
Good question.
Before we begin too, there's one important principle that's being described by Maitreya right in the verse, as impelled by the destiny of the jiva, the false ego, which is of 3 kinds, evolved from the Mahatattva. So even above the, or more subtle than the 3 modes of material nature, that destiny of the living entity, talk about control. The destiny of the living entity is known to the Lord, and each individual is receiving a false ego proportionate to its consciousness. It's like, how they call it when specified. It's each individual has a individual prescription. And then once we get a false ego, then there's an appropriate body that will accommodate that false ego.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Seta. It's really nice to see you there again. Gopapatni, dear God sister.
Hari Hari, Vipalay, Hari Krishna.
Yeah.
Srimad Bhagavatam 3:20, 14, 16? Yeah. I'm on my phone, remember? Separately unable to produce the material universe, combined with the help of the energy of the Supreme Lord, and were able to produce a shining egg. For over 1,000 years, the shiny egg lay on the waters of the causal ocean in the lifeless, unconscious state. Then the Lord entered it as Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. From the navel of the personality of Godhead, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu sprouted a lotus flower, effulgent like 1,000 blazing suns. This lotus flower is the reservoir of all conditioned souls, and the first living entity who came out of the lotus flower was the omnipotent Brahma. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It appears from this verse that the conditioned souls who rested within the body of the personality of Godhead after the dissolution of the last creation came out in the sum total form of the lotus. This is called Hiranyagarbha. The first living entity to come out was Lord Brahma, who is independently able to create the rest of the manifested universe. The lotus is described here as effulgent as the glare of 1,000 suns. This indicates that the living entities, as parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also of the same quality, since the Lord also diffuses his bodily glare, known as Brahma Jyoti.
Wow.
Whoa.
It looks like everything's created by the Lord. There's nothing outside of the Lord's creation. What do you think, Gopa?
That I just loved that the blazing like 1,000 suns. Wow. That's just, I can't even imagine. I can't, it's awesome.
Thank you. Anyone else have something to say about this? Thank you, Gopa.
Just to clarify the storyline of what's happening here is that Mahavishnu has glanced over the material energy as pradhan, it's unmanifested. Then it becomes manifested into, as we just read, the different sets of 5 in the earth, water, fire, air, ether, senses, different things like that. All the living entities are still without their bodies. They're in the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu within each universe. That Lord sprouts the lotus from his navel, which goes up, as you can see in the image, up throughout the universe. At the top, Brahma is born. But as we read last section, he's all by himself. And the reservoir of all those living entities are still within the lotus stem. Now, Brahma's duty is called, that was called Sarga, the initial creation. Visarga is Brahma's duty. What he does is he produces atmospheres and bodies for all those living entities. So that's what's happening now. All of a sudden, my screen switched.
Hare Krishna, I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When the souls are still within the body of Vishnu, do they have their egos at that time, or does that come later?
Yeah, no, they all have they're covered by their false ego continuously. But
Okay.
what happens is, we read previously, it's in a dormant state here. For over 1,000 years, the shining egg lay on the waters of the causal ocean in a lifeless or unconscious state. So they're actually not active. They don't have their bodies. They're in a subtle, dormant state.
Dormant. Thank you.
The word lifeless, Prabhupada translated it in the word for word as unconscious. So my understanding, we were discussing this, that lifeless would be not materially active.
Okay.
In an unconscious state of not materially active and not spiritually active, not active on any level. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I think Vaishnavi has returned. Vaishnavi, would you like to read the next slide? And Madhurya Leela has a question. Madhurya, why don't you?
Harold, so just this came up in the class this morning. When in time did Lord Brahma speak the Brahma Samhita? Because we're talking about this right now, so I thought it was appropriate.
There are different kalpas, and sometimes there are different Brahmas in those kalpas. During the Padma Kalpa, which was one of the first, is when that Brahma was given that particular vision. If you remember, it's a good question, Madhurya. We go back now. What happened was that, if you remember, in this particular Kalpa that's being described, Maitreya, well, let's even go back a step further. In chapter 8 of the second canto, Maharaj Pariksit asked Sukadev Goswami many questions about the universe, how it's produced, where the planets are situated, what are the sizes, what are the living entities, all these different kinds of inquiries. In order to answer that question, rather than doing it directly, Sukadev Goswami, at the end of the second canto, the end of the second canto, one of those chapters is called Answers, citing the Lord's version. Then Srimad Bhagavatam is the title of the last chapter of the second canto. And he starts to narrate that by saying that Vidura asked these exact same questions, very similar questions that you're asking me. Vidura asked Maitreya. And that created a segue for this stream of narration that we're reading now, where Vidura and Maitreya are conversing. And when Vidura asked his questions, you may remember that Maitreya is reverting back to the question, back to the time he cites the recitation to Sanat Kumar by Sankarshan in the bottom of the universe. So it's a different kalpa. But Brahma Samhita, in the commentary by Jiva Goswami and Brahma Samhita and Vishwanath, they say that it was during the Padma kalpa.
But at the beginning of the universe. It was at the beginning of the universe.
One of the first ones, yes. If not the first, I forget.
So that was right after Brahma did the austerities, and then he spoke it once it was revealed to him.
Yeah.
Yes, in Brahma Samhita, it describes that Saraswati gave him the Gayatri mantra, Kama Gayatri mantra. By chanting that mantra, he became enlightened.
And then he spoke the Brahma Samhita at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you have time at the end, if you could just, give a summary, a quick summary of the creation in terms of, the glance over Pradhan, etc. Just a quick
summary,
like a sequence. It's a sequence of events. Because I got mixed up again.
Okay.
If you have time,
remind me. Let's keep that topic.
That's no light summary. That's no light summary.
I don't not need the details. Just
all right.
Mahavishnu glanced at Pradhan and etc.
Okay.
And then the Tatma. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okie dokie. Shall we go on now with Vaishnavi reading?
Yes. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.20, 14 through 17. When that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is lying on the Garbhodaka ocean, entered the heart of Brahma, Brahma brought his intelligence to bear, and with the intelligence invoked, he began to create the universe as it was before. Purport. Brahma was the first living entity, and he was empowered by the Supreme Lord to act in charge of the mode of passion. Therefore, he was given the required intelligence, which is so powerful and extensive that he is almost independent of the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just as a highly posted manager is almost as independent as the owner of the firm, Brahma is described here as independent, because as the Lord's representative to control the universe, he is almost as powerful and independent as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord, as a supreme supersoul within Brahma, gave the intelligence to create. Therefore, the creative power of every living entity is not his own. It is by the grace of the Lord that one can create.
Okay. There's one very striking statement in this verse, that Lord Brahma brought about his intelligence to bear, and with the intelligence invoked, he began to create the universe as it was before. So that's something that we can just try to think about for a moment. Patti, do you have any immediate, or does anyone, but first you, Patti, can you say something?
No, I'd like to hear some other devotees speak.
Okay. Who can, Premananda, you're here? Oh, there's Chaitanya is very excited. Just a second. Premananda, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, how are you?
Hare Krishna, Premananda.
Hare Krishna.
So what do you think about that? Create the universe as it was before.
It's such a subtle way of saying it, but the whole thing is cyclical. And there's in other words, there's nothing new under the sun.
Right. It's all been done. Very good. How about you, Premananda? Did you want to comment on that also?
Well, my understanding is when it says create the universe as before, is the jivas who were at the time of destruction of the last creation universe, the jivas in whatever consciousness and karma they kind of got in the dormant state, and Brahma revived them again from the same point. So that's what I understand when it says create the universe as it was before.
It's a very enormous topic, very enormous. Because we do, as Chaitanya was stating, we think that we are so original and so complicated. We're probably, how complicated could a little p be? We are, everything that we think is new, just like when people have children, they think, I'm going to do a Gurukul like it's never been thought of before. It's all an instant repeat. Oh, Tisha and Radhika. Wait, first Tisha, can you answer? And then we have our dear friend, Eka Radhika.
No, I have a question.
Okay.
Now, this may be a little off, but I'm like when you were saying about the Brahma Samhita was spoken in a different kalpa. And here we're saying that the material, it's recreated. So does that mean like the Brahma Samhita is recreated in the next kalpa, or does it come again? Like you know, like how did the Brahma Samhita get from one kalpa to the other? Is everything starting again, or?
All right, Patsy, go ahead.
Actually, Brahma is an individual who is in a post of Brahma. There are different individual souls that take that position. So the Brahma Samhita was one particular Brahma's realization. But because it's so eloquently spoken and spoken by the knower of all the Vedas, Brahma, it's eternal. And it can, or at least it manifests according to the desire of the Lord. Just like when you're boiling something, like if you're boiling a soup and there's carrots and there's peas and there's things that float in them, sometimes those things are up and sometimes they're down if it's on a roll boil. Or sometimes in the river, the example is given in the currents of a river. There are sticks and flotsam, and sometimes those things go down in the current and sometimes they come up. So when Lord Chaitanya was traveling in South India, he came across two books during the 2.5 years that he was traveling. He came across two books that he wanted. He went to the temple authorities, got copies made. At that time, they didn't have printing presses, but the scholars would have scribes. And he got Brahma Samhita, the 5th chapter, and a book by Bhivimangal Thakur called Krishna Karnamrita. And then when he went back to Jagannath Puri, he gave those books to his disciples and followers, and those books were reprinted. So that's how Brahma Samhita manifested in this particular time for our information, for us to come in contact with it.
I'm going to add something that I don't know if it's very scientific, but it's really amazing that as it was before, we think we are creating new karma, if you think in terms of eternity and infinity, and the Lord is using that as his cauldron, let's say, you know, everything for eternally and infinitely is in that. So as before, still offers an infinite amount of eternal possibilities. Does that make sense? Eternal and infinite possibilities. I mean, that's what Krishna is using. It's kind of like fractals. Does everyone know about fractals? It just keeps repeating itself infinitely and more possibilities. But since you're dealing with infinity, all the possibilities seem new. But from Krishna's angle, they're all infinite. So I don't know if they're new or old. So it's a far out thing to try to stretch the conditioned mind into infinity and eternity. What do you think, Eka Radhika? You have your hand raised.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that this is such a good point, you know, that you brought up, Samapriya Mataji, when you said, you know, like pointing out like as it was before, because, you know, a lot of people might have that question of like, oh, like you're saying Brahma is the creator, so Brahma is God. And then we read there like omnipotent. So as it was before, it's like, you know, like the Legos, you know, all of the Lego pieces are already there, but then somebody can create something with the Legos, but the Legos are already there. So, and for you, Tish, I was thinking that, you know, I thought about that Krishna, little Krishna. I don't know if you've seen the animation of little Krishna, but you can see there visually, you know, that pastime when Brahma takes the cows and takes the cowherd boys, and then Krishna ultimately shows Brahma bringing all these other Brahmas, and Brahma is like astonished, you know, that one over there, because it's like, who are all these Brahmas? And then Krishna is showing to him that there are all of those Brahmas over there. So that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, we better just chant Hare Krishna and enter into eternity, realizing that even in a self-realized position, we can't know everything, you know. But we're linking on to that person who knows everything, and the servant of that person who knows everything. Oh, now we're going to go on. Thank you.
Isn't it also that when the living entities are reawakened, that any new ones that are supposed to come to the material world also come at that time?
Yeah. Oh my God. Do you want to answer that, Patti? Do you have any?
No, I never read anything like that.
Oh, it was just a thought, I guess. Any new ones? All right, there are some things that are inconceivable. Jai,
well, not
new
ones, meaning the people who felt the souls that fell from the spiritual world coming down to the material world.
Recently, we don't even know. Not knowing. Mamatar knows. Mamatar's hand is up. What do you think, Mamatar? Unmute, sweetie.
I just thought it meant that as it was before, was when Lord Brahma woke up, because he sleeps, right? I mean, there's
right.
Sleeps, and then the cosmos, the material dissolves, and then it comes back and he recreates. That's what I was thinking it was referring to.
Okay, Patti, now you got to answer.
It seems like there are a lot of different viewpoints of the same statement, and they all are applicable.
Premananda.
Yes, I was going to the purport, Srila Prabhupada's purport, and in the very last sentence, Srila Prabhupada writes that that Brahma created the universe as it was before. This means that he created everything by the same name and form as in the previous cosmic manifestation. So same name and form. That's what Prabhupada writes.
To indicate again that it was the way it was before.
Yes.
And you know what? I don't know if we're creating karma. And if we go back to Godhead, we shouldn't think that our situation here is so unique that another soul will not actually have to experience the same exact thing. That's also another inconceivable possibility, that someone else will have the same situation that I have right now because of their desires, and their desires have produced the same kind of body, the same kind of consciousness, the same kind of thing. Now, it is really a mind-bending conception as it was before. It really is. We can go on speculating, but let's read the Bhagavatam and save ourselves the grief of our mental speculation here. But actually, it's a wonderful continuum. Okay, Mavantara, is that good? Okay, Premananda, do you want to read?
Yes, thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:20-18. First of all, Brahma created from his shadow the coverings of ignorance of the conditioned souls. They are 5 in number and are called Tamisra, Andha Tamisra, Tamas, Moha, and Mahamoha. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The living entity, being eternally a part and parcel servitor of the Supreme Lord, can never, by constitution, be an equal enjoyer with the Lord. When he forgets this, however, and tries to be one with him, his condition is called Tamisra. Andha Tamisra involves considering death to be the ultimate end. The atheists generally think that the body is the self and that everything is therefore ended with the end of the body. Thus, they want to enjoy material life as far as possible during the existence of the body.
Go on.
This Andha Tamisra ignorance is due to tamas. The condition of not knowing anything about the spirit soul is called tamas. This material world is also generally called tamas because 99% of its living entities are ignorant of their identity as soul. Almost everyone is thinking that he is this body. He has no information of the spirit soul. Guided by this misconception, one always thinks, this is my body and anything in relationship with this body is mine. For such misguided living entities, sex life is the background of material existence. Actually, the conditioned souls in ignorance in this material world are simply guided by sex life. And as soon as they get the opportunity for sex life, they become attached to so-called home, motherland, children, wealth, and opulence. As these attachments increase, moha, or the illusion of the bodily concept of life, also increases. Mahamoha means to be mad after material enjoyment. Especially in this age of Kali, everyone is overwhelmed by the madness to accumulate paraphernalia for material enjoyment.
This was the forum question this week, and Premananda wrote an excellent overview of it. So why not let him explain it, Sama?
Okay, perfect. Explain it.
Okay, so because a similar verse is also there in the 12th chapter of 3rd canto. And I did listen to some lectures on this topic because it looks a little bit confusing and too technical, you know. So and one of the speakers said that the best way to understand is that start from the root cause. The root cause of our existence in this material world is our desire to enjoy separately from the Supreme Lord. So and in order to do so, we have to forget that there is Supreme Lord who is the supreme enjoyer. And so the creation, everything Krishna's announcement is that he makes us forget that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and that we can independently enjoy. So that state, that condition is called tamas. That is ignorance of our self-identity, that we are part and parcel of Krishna, we are eternal servant of Krishna. Now, once we forget that we are independent enjoyers, that means we come under the illusory bodily conception of life, because we get a body because we want to enjoy separately. And that bodily conception is called moha, right? And once we have a body, we become attached to so many different things. We want to have a wife, children, we want to have a property, we want to have a job. So we get attached to so many different things. And because of that, the possessiveness and the desire to enjoy more of the material things increases, and that is called mahamoha. And if we don't attain those things, then we get angry, we get frustrated, and that's called tamishram. And finally, because our desires are not fully fulfilled, and there's an impending death always lurking around, we kind of get fearful of that. He said, hey, I mean, I've got only one life, I've not enjoyed enough, I still have so many material desires. So that sense of fear of death is called andatamishram. So in essence, there's the sequence of everything. It starts with tamas, forgetfulness of one's identity. Then you get moha, which is bodily conception of life. Then mahamoha, which is attachment to material things. Then not able to fulfill them is tamishra, and andatamishra sense of that. So that's how I kind of understood this whole 5 types of ignorance.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Lord Brahma, I thought it was incredible. And then Chaita, you can speak. I thought it was far out that Lord Brahma, the first thing he does was to create this ignorance, to allow the conditioned soul to forget himself, because he forgets who he is. Otherwise, how can he tolerate all of this bombardment of ignorance and pain? And it's just incredible that we actually desired to be in a completely, the only way we can really enjoy that we are the body, we have to really believe that we are the body, is to be totally covered in ignorance. Go on, Chaita.
Okay. I just really appreciate Premananda's putting all of those 5 factors in their proper sequence. Because as I was initially reading it, I thought this is not the proper sequence. But well done, Premananda, putting it nice.
Thank you, Haribol. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Mama Tara, did you want to say something? Your hand is still raised over there, that little thing. Oh, no, she's cool. Okay, let's go. Let's go on. Akshara. Akshara is new to the group, and
Akshara wrote a nice point in the chat that his understanding is that it's another day of Brahma, which is also one of the reasons why it says that it's as it was before.
Yeah,
right.
Very good. Someone else also mentioned that. Very good. Thank you. So why don't you go on reading, Prabhu? Akshara.
So out of disgust, Brahma threw off the body of ignorance, and taking this opportunity, Yakshas and Rakshasas sprang for possession of the body, which continued to exist in the form of night. Night is a source of hunger and thirst. Overpowered by hunger and thirst, they ran to devour Brahma from all sides and cried, "Spare him not, eat him up." Brahma, the head of the demigods, full of anxiety, asked them, "Do not eat me, but protect me. You are born from me and have become my sons. Therefore you are yakshas and rakshasas." Purport. The demons who were born from the body of Brahma were called yakshas and rakshasas because some of them cried that Brahma should be eaten, and the others cried that he should not be protected. The ones who said that he should be eaten were called yakshas, and the ones who said that he should not be protected became rakshasas, man-eaters. The two yakshas and rakshasas are the original creation by Brahma and are represented even until today in the uncivilized men who are scattered all over the universe. They are born of the mode of ignorance, and therefore, because of their behavior, they are called rakshasas or man-eaters.
Thank you, Prabhu. Can you see how this is manifest in the world today?
You mean me?
Question for you. Yes, I mean you.
Yes, certainly. I can see it more than ever in our present day situation.
Ridiculous. And this is all because we are covered with ignorance from top to bottom. Thank you. If that's it, we'll go on, see if we can complete this this section. Eka Radhika, would you like to read?
Yes, Mataji, thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:20-22. He then created the chief demigods who were shining with the glory of goodness. He dropped before them the effulgent form of daytime, and the demigods exportantly took possession of it. Purport. Demons were born from the creation of night, and the demigods were born from the creation of day. In other words, demons like the yakshas and rakshasas are born of the quality of ignorance, and demigods are born of the quality of goodness.
Okay, go on reading.
Lord Brahma then gave birth to the demons from his buttocks, and they were very fond of sex. Because they were too lustful, they approached him for copulation. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sex life is the background and material existence. Here also it is repeated that demons are very much fond of sex life. The more one is free from the desire for sex, the more he is promoted to the level of the demigods. The more one is inclined to enjoy sex, the more he is degraded to the level of demonic life. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:20, verses 24-25. The worshipful Brahma first laughed at their stupidity, but finding the shameless Asuras close up to him, he grew indignant and ran in great haste out of fear. He approached the personality of Godhead, who bestows all boons and who dispels the agony of his devotees and of those who take shelter of his lotus feet. He manifests his innumerable transcendental forms for the satisfaction of his devotees. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The words Bhaktanam Anurapatma Darshanam mean that the Lord is always pleased to favor the devotee in the particular form in which the devotee wants to worship and render service unto him. In this verse, it is stated that Brahma approached Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This form of the Lord is Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Whenever there is some trouble and Brahma has to approach the Lord, he can approach Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. And it is the grace of the Lord that whenever Brahma approaches about disturbances in the universe, the Lord gives him relief in so many ways. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One comment on that. Don't change the slide. This actually should make us very, very happy because we're reading things about demoniac tendencies but now this is also present in the universe. The Lord is always available and comes to the devotee how he has been worshipped. And Brahma is a perfect example. So we have great hope for us as trying to be devotees, becoming devotees, that Krishna is reciprocating with us in the way that actually we are relating to him. So this is just a very wonderful, something wonderful to look forward to and to be involved in present time. This amidst all of this incredible ignorance that we're learning about, which is the foundation of the universe, there's Krishna bestowing boons to the devotees, and we're learning again that he reciprocates. He does reciprocate and appears the way he is worshipped by his devotee. Thank you very much. Okay, how about Ian? Ian, are you here?
Okay, I'm here.
Oh,
yeah, you see
welcome.
Me? Can you hear me?
I can see you and hear you, and it's really
Hare
nice
Krishna.
to see you.
Hare Krishna, everybody. I miss you guys. Hare Krishna. So,
you see.
wonderful.
Hare Krishna, Ian. Very nice to see you.
All right, Hare Krishna. So,
see, okay, you read the top, but I just want to tell everyone who's new that we've been doing this since 2010, I believe. So there are some people who have been with us, like Faye, since the very beginning, and it's very nice to reunite on the platform of transcendence. That's so cool. Thank you. Okay, Ian.
Okay,
so please read.
3.2:26. Lord Brahma, approaching the Lord, addressed him in thus: My Lord, please protect me from these sinful demons who were created by me under your order. They are infuriated by an appetite for sex and have come to attack me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It appears here that the homosexual appetite of males for each other is created in this episode of the creation demons by Brahma. In other words, the homosexual appetite of a man for another man is demonic and is not for any sane male in the ordinary course of life. 3.2.27. My Lord, you are the only one capable of ending the affliction of the distress and inflicting agony on those who never resort to your feet. Purport: Lord Yeshadas Isham Anashana Padam Tava indicate the Lord has two concerns. The first to give protection to persons who take shelter of his lotus feet. The second is to give trouble to those who are always demonic and who are inimical toward the Lord. Maya's function is to give afflictions to the non-devotees. Here Brahma said, you are the protector of the surrendered souls. Therefore, I surrender unto your lotus feet. Please give me protection from these demons.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you, Ian. Hare Krishna. Arundhati, would you like to read? Arundhati?
Just one point, Sama.
Okay.
In today's world, the modern world of Kali Yuga, we read about the horrible characteristics of this age that will become more and more manifest as the next 427,000 years progresses in this planet. And we're already seeing, here it's stating about the nature of homosexuality, the confusion of sexual identity in the world today is rampant, especially in the Western countries. In America, the children, there's big issues about education of young children, and some of them completely confused about what their sexual identity are, and it causes great anxiety and frustration and disturbance. This is just the beginning. So then the part down here, which describes how Brahma went to the Lord and prayed for protection. Similarly, we can do the same and pray for protection against these demoniac forces which are continuing to become more prominent in our world.
Eka Radhika, would you like to say something?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you, Mataji. I have the question because since there's a lot of people that are, confused in their identity, thinking that they're homosexual or bisexual, how can we, make them feel welcome if they're approaching Krishna consciousness and not, them not to feel.
Okay. The thing is this: we are all in the bodily concept of life. We can be absorbed in one aspect of the bodily concept of life or another. We all come with different propensities, different contaminations. The wonderful thing about Krishna consciousness is it cleans the whole thing up. We are not these bodies. These bodies, I might have a body that's inclined in one way. You may have a body inclined in another way. What's the difference? It's an illusion being attached to another illusion. So rather, just like Prabhupada says, when you're in the shower, don't, and somebody's dirt gets on you, you're in the shower. The dirt is coming off. So everyone is welcome to take up this philosophy because we're all in this material world and the bodily concept of life. So, and we're trying to become free from whatever chains we are bound with here. It could be one for one person, one for another person. If you're in the human body, you are capable to understand the absolute truth. So rather than getting into all the different dirt that people are walking around in, because we're all walking around in dirt, let's concentrate on the panacea, the cure for all people. So if somebody says, well, I'm leaning toward this way, okay, that could be anything. Some other person overeats. Some other person has an anger thing. There are so many, the most that we're reading about it now. Lord Brahma, he spends a lot of time creating all these demoniac forces. So as devotees, we are benedicted with the Maha Mantra, and our duty is to try to relate to each person as a soul, not on the bodily platform. And when you relate to someone on that soul level, that person will also respond to you in that way. That's my understanding. It's Sheta.
Thank you, Mataji.
I can't, you have to unmute, sweetie. Unmute, Sheta.
Right. Beautiful question, beautiful answer. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Good. All right. Now I want to see Arundhati. Arundhati, are you there with us?
Yes, Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Okay, darling. Would you like to read this?
Yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam 3.20.28. The Lord, who can distinctly see the minds of others, perceived Brahma's distress and said to him, cast off this impure body of yours. Thus commanded by the Lord, Brahma cast off his body. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is described here by the word Vivikta Dhyatma Darshanaha. If anyone can completely perceive another's distress without doubt, it is the Lord himself. If someone is in distress and wants to get relief from his friend, sometimes it so happens that his friend does not appreciate the volume of distress he is suffering. But for the Supreme Lord, it is not difficult. The Supreme Lord, as Paramatma, is sitting within the heart of every living entity, and he directly perceives the exact causes of distress. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha. I am sitting in everyone's heart, and because of me, one's remembrance and forgetfulness occur. Thus, whenever one fully surrenders unto the Supreme Lord, one finds that he is sitting within one's heart. He can give us direction how to get out of dangers or how to approach him in devotional service. According to Sridhar Swami, Brahma's constant dropping of his body does not refer to his actually giving up his body. Rather, he suggests that Brahma gave up a particular mentality. Mind is the subtle body of the living entity. We may sometimes be absorbed in some thought which is sinful, but if we give up the sinful thought, it may be said that we gave up the body.
Arundhati is new. I'd like to hear her comment.
Okay. Hare Krishna, would you like to speak?
Oh, gosh.
That's very hopeful. And it reminded me of something. So I want you to, what do you think this means?
Oh gosh, I wish it was as easy as what is being suggested here, that, you know, we just drop off the thought and then that body is just given up. I really wish it was that easy, because I mean, especially in my case, I just feel that if I have a thought, which is not a spiritual thought, so, you know, basically a bad thought, I carry it for a while. I carry baggage with me, and you know, and then it comes back in later conversations, and it's like, you know, you did that to me, or, you know, I'm carrying baggage.
So what do you think the best way is to get rid of that? I mean, there is one magic word. I'll give you a hint if you read the Bhagavad Gita about the banyan tree. It's the weapon. What's the most important weapon that liberates us? Begins with a D.
Detachment.
Yeah. The weapon of detachment. That's it. Yeah. I mean, not that it's easy. I mean, we all hold on to our identity and our attachments, but that's what we're working toward. The weapon of detachment. And another point here, directly going to the Lord, we read in the beginning of this reading, there was discussion about the guru, actually, about approaching the guru. Mm-hmm. So if we have a guru, we all have Srila Prabhupada, at least that's most. Everyone in this movement is thriving on the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. So if we approach the Lord through the guru, means follow the instructions of the guru, mm-hmm. and the explanations, and of course the Lord himself, detachment. Anyone have something to add to that? Adorya Radha, do you have something to say? Adorya ji? I think she's learning how to work.
You have to unmute.
You have to unmute.
Okay. Well, well, I confuse a little bit, because I listened that it's not just exists one Brahma, exists a lot of Brahman. So
a lot of Brahmas.
The Brahman that is, yeah, that is my understanding. I don't know if I am correct.
There's a lot of Brahmas.
It exists a lot of Brahman. This Brahman is just for this world?
Well, we live in, there are millions and zillions, and listen, we are living in the smallest of gazillions of universes. And we are living in the smallest one. And it's so complicated to us. So this is also stretching our mind to try to conceive of infinity. Even though it's so complicated, we're reading all of these things, and Lord Brahma has so many things to do, and here we are, teeny weeny, in relationship to him, what to speak. This is one teeny universe. Prabhupada says the smallest universe. So we have to be humble.
Is she asking?
Sorry.
Are you asking?
She's asking about if there's more than one Brahma.
Are you asking what is Brahma? Who is Brahma?
No, I think she's asking if there's more than one Brahma. Are you asking if there's more than one Brahma, Adorya?
Well, the principal question is that, is this Brahma who is in conflict, or he is the first Brahman, right?
Okay, Patty. Oh, Ian has something. What? Patty, you want to answer, or should we? Maybe Ian has the answer.
Ian, did you want to answer it?
Ian,
or do you have a
is
question?
this the first Brahma?
No, not about Brahma, just in terms of being exposed to the Bhagavad Gita, and the verse in chapter 4, which says you wanting to get knowledge by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. So, being exposed to the Bhagavad Gita, there are certain questions that you get further clarification when you're doing the Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't know if that would, yeah.
Okay, that deals with a different.
Yeah, let's go back to the point. No, there's not just one. The point is that Brahma, as we've said, is a post. And there are different people that take that post, just like the president of the country. That's a post. George Washington in this country was the first one, but after him, there's so many posts. And in eternity, there's no first. There's no first one. What happens is that there's a continuous, like Chaitanya was saying, it's cyclic. There's a cycle of creation, destruction, creation, destruction, creation, destruction, according to the breathing of Mahavishnu. When he breathes out, then there's a manifestation. When he breathes in, it all goes within him. So within each universe, there's a post of the original, of the main engineer. First one is the creator Brahma, and then subsequent in different kalpas, there may be different Brahmas. So which particular Brahma it is not generally stated, except in that question we had earlier in this discussion with Brahma Samhita, because it's such a unique realization that particular Brahma had for Krishna and Goloka Vrindavan. Not all Brahmas have that same reciprocation. So which Brahma and where that Brahma is in the course of eternity is not generally described. I hope that helps clarify it.
Yes.
Akshara, Akshara, what do you have to say?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Actually, this is the first time I hear this point that we have different Brahmas in different kalpas. My understanding has always been that when this universe was created by exhalation of Mahavishnu, all the different universes were created, also ours. We have one Brahma. And that Brahma is going to continue for 100 years of his life. And one day of his life is a kalpa. So my understanding is, as long as this universe exists until it is not completely annihilated and goes back into the body of Mahavishnu, we have the same Brahma in different days. So each kalpa is another day of Brahma, but the same Brahma. And as I understand, I have heard it like this, that the end of his life, after 100 years times 365 days every year, so many kalpas, Brahma may go back to Godhead. Like our Brahma is a devotee, he will go back to Godhead. But we are dealing with the same Brahma in every kalpa.
I also had the same understanding until during our recent reading of the third canto again last session. It was mentioned that at the end of a day, some Brahmas may be liberated. And that threw a whole new spin on it. So it's a topic that can be further described. Are you following the different forums? Are you on the course and following those forum entries?
Yeah, I just started now.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll post that quote.
Yeah, please.
So,
I would be interested.
Go from there.
Yeah, I would be interested in the verse where that appears, or the purpose.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, we should we continue reading, Patti? Let's see if we can finish this section. It's just a few more. You're on unmute, please. Unmute.
Let's not have so much discussion. There's only a few more slides.
Okay. Here we go. So, Mandatara, would you like to read? Unmute.
Text 29 through 31. The body given up by Brahma took the form of the evening twilight, when the day and night meet, a time which kindles passion. The Asuras, who are passionate by nature, dominated as they are by the element of Rajas, took it for a Dasmo, whose lotus feet resounded with the tinkling of anklets. whose eyes were wide with intoxication, and whose hips were covered by fine cloth, over which shone a girdle. Her breasts projected upward because of her clinging to each other, because of their clinging to each other. And they were
too contagious. Contagious.
Yeah, is a word I can't see. Contagious to admit any intervening space. She had a shapely nose and beautiful teeth. A lovely smile played on her lips, and she cast a sportful glance at the Asuras. Adorned with dark tresses, she hid herself, as it were, out of shyness. Upon seeing that girl, the Asuras were all infatuated with an appetite for sex. Purport. The difference between demons and demigods is that beautiful women very easily attracts the minds of demons, but she cannot attract the mind of a godly person. A godly person is full of knowledge, and a demoniac person is full of ignorance. All the beauty a woman can display is only a combination of flesh and blood. Sri Sankaracharya has advised all persons not to be attracted by the interaction of flesh and blood. They should be attracted by the real beauty and spiritual life. The real beauty is Krishna and Radha. One who is attracted by the beauty of Radha and Krishna cannot be attracted by the false beauty of this material world. That is the difference between a demon and a godly person or devotee.
Let's go on. Tisha, you'd like to read?
Yes, Mataji. Okay, 32 through 37. The demons praised her. Oh, what beauty, what rare self-control, what a budding youth. In the midst of us all who are passionately longing for her, she is moving about like one absolutely free from passion, indulging in various speculations about the evening twilight, which appeared to them endowed with the form of a young woman. The wicked-minded Asuras treated her with respect and fondly spoke to her as follows. Who are you, O pretty late girl? Whose wife or daughter are you, and what can be the object of you appearing before us? Why do you tantalize us, unfortunate as we are, with the priceless commodity of your beauty? Whosoever you may be, O beautiful girl, we are fortunate in being able to see you. While playing with the ball, you have agitated the minds of all onlookers, O beautiful woman. When you strike the bouncing ball against the ground with your hand again and again, your lotus feet do not stay in one place. Oppressed by the weight of your full-grown breasts, your waist becomes fatigued and your clear vision grows dull, as it were. Pray braid your comely hair. The Asuras, clouded in their understanding, took the evening twilight to be a beautiful woman, showing herself in her alluring form, and they seized her.
Thank you. Let's go on. Faye, you want to read?
Yes, Mataji. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.20.38 through 39. With a laugh full of deep significance, the worshipful Brahma then evolved by his own loveliness, which seemed to enjoy itself by itself, the host of the Gandharvas and the Apsaras. After that, Brahma gave up that shining and beloved form of moonlight. Vivasvasu and other Gandharvas gladly took possession of it. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The musicians in the upper planetary systems are called Gandharvas, and the dancing girls are called Apsaras. After being attacked by the demons and evolving a form of after being attacked by the demons and evolving a form of a beautiful woman in the twilight, Brahma next created Gandharvas and Apsaras. Music and dancing employed in sick sense gratification are to be accepted as demoniac, but the same music and dancing, when employed in glorifying the Supreme Lord as kirtan, are transcendental, and they bring about a life completely fit for spiritual enjoyment.
Okay, thank you, Faye. Gopal, why don't you finish up for us in the next slide? Thank you, Faye.
Okay. Purport. The mentality of the demons is being enamored by the false beauty of this material world, is expressed herein. The demoniac can pay any price for the skin beauty of this material world. They work very hard all day and night, but the purpose of their hard work is to enjoy sex life. A patient is advised by the experienced physician to refrain from ordinary enjoyment while in the diseased condition. A diseased person cannot enjoy anything. He has to restrain his enjoyment in order to get rid of the disease. Similarly, our material condition is a diseased condition. If one wants to enjoy real sense enjoyment, then one must get free of the entanglement of material existence. In spiritual life, we can enjoy sense enjoyment, which has no end. The difference between material and spiritual enjoyment is that material enjoyment is limited. Even if a man engages in material sex enjoyment, he cannot enjoy it for long. But when the sex enjoyment is given up, then one can enter spiritual life, which is unending. The asuras are described here as mudhadiyaha, meaning that they are captivated by ignorance, just like the ass. The demons were captivated by the false, glaring beauty of this material form, and thus they embraced her.
Okay. Anyone have any last comments or questions or something to add? This was a very powerful part of the Bhagavatam. Akshara, do you have something to say? And anyone else? Ian touched on something about, he was supporting what I mentioned before about the guru, because actually we can get this bliss of Krishna consciousness, and it referred to it in that one verse, which I don't remember which one it was, that through the guru is pretty much through the devotee, through the pure devotee guru is the way that we attain this Krishna consciousness. Manvantara, did you have a question?
I just wanted to mention back to, I think it's Ekaradikara's question about, because it really is important, because some people really do misidentify with their sexual orientation in a very strong way. And Bhakti Tirtha Swami told us that, like you said, to welcome devotees, people come from all walks of life, but that monogamy, to let them understand that monogamy and adherence to the 4 regulations is what they are to practice in order to, like you were describing the shower situation, you know what I mean? So like you said, everyone is welcomed, but they just need to understand that the practice monogamy and the 4 regulations.
Also, another thing is that everything has a little bit of a cost and sacrifice and detachment, as Arundhati we were discussing. We got to do the work. Part of the work, certainly, the original is the desire, but we have to do it. And in the beginning, it's a little painful. It's difficult, but we get the blessings of the Vaishnavas, of the Guru, of the Lord himself, if we actually do the work, no matter what the contamination is. Anyone else? Thank you, Manvantara.
Can I just add one more thing? Sorry.
Sure.
Now, Brahma was casting off all these subtle bodies. He has 4 heads, our Brahma. So do you think, maybe we'll come to it, but do you think there, because it mentioned a series of 5, the 5 elements earlier, like a series, 4 series of 5s. Maybe we'll get to it. I don't know. I was just thinking that.
What's the question, sweetie?
So if he's casting off all these different subtle bodies, I'm wondering if there's just 4 things that is being cast off, but maybe we'll get to it.
That's categories. As far as Brahma's heads, we were talking about something interesting this morning, that there are some Brahmas with 1 million heads. So that could be also subtle heads, that not that, 1,000-headed Brahmas walking around like carrying, that's a little intense, but there are so brilliant, in charge of such an enormous universe. And Lord Brahma, he knows everything that's going on here. This is, I would think, subtle. He is no, just like Prabhupada was saying on a lecture this morning, that we cannot see the mind, but we know the mind exists, right? We know the mind exists. Why do we know the mind exists? We know that it exists. So subtle, it's subtly being revealed. Ian, is that all right? Well, these things will become more clear, hopefully, as the years pass, and we keep chanting and keep reading. Ian, unmute.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Okay, just a reminder for the chapter and verse in the Bhagavad Gita with regards to approaching a bona fide spiritual master. It's chapter 4, text 34.
Yeah, 434. Very important verse, because he has seen the truth.
I think he wants to read it.
Oh yeah, read it, Ian. Read it.
I don't have it, but I think from what he says, that just try to learn the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master, inquiring from him submissively, and render service unto him.
Yeah.
The several lives souls will impart knowledge unto you, because they have seen the truth.
Okay, I got it. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. Submissive require means that you accept his instructions and try to follow. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. And we know that in spiritual life, the most important thing, and Prabhupada says it's the secret of success, is to have a bona fide spiritual master, because you have to surrender your life to him. So he has to be worthy. Okay, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Haribol.
So nice to see you again.